So
Yeah.
right, business analysis means it is the practice of enabling change in an enterprise by defining the needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to the stakeholders under a given context. Under a given context should be given there. Now it is all BACCM. Now you understand why I'm emphasizing on BACCM, because BACCM is our business analysis. You see, everything is involved in BACCM only, right? Now every activity which you do, you should bring that under this framework of BACCM. Then you will get a clarity of what you are doing, how you are doing, why you are doing. All this will come into picture. Fine, you will understand them. Next is business analysis information. Business analysis information means like what all information a business analyst use, okay, for him or her to do business analysis, that we call it as business analysis information. Possibly this can be like your requirements, whatever the requirements, that is a part of it. Along with the requirements, the context of the requirements and the project management, all this comes into picture. Okay, now information of any kind at any level that is used as an input to or an output of the business analysis work, we can consider it as business analysis information. I'll give you an example of business analysis information so that you get clarity about it. Okay, now business analysis information, it can be, first of all, for us to plan the project, you should have that business case, organizational chart, organization process, and templates for BA work. Do you have it or not? Existing project documents, project charter, scope document. Okay, then preliminary project plan, stakeholder list, existing training materials, existing modules, existing user documentations, like that. What all we have, that is before you start the project, where what we have, you have to come up this information. And then how we are going to do this particular project, what is the approach, is it waterfall, is it agile, or is it hybrid? Like you should know that. Okay, then your stakeholder engagement plan, RSA matrix, like how it actually goes with, you have to come up with this matrix, and then you should know about it. Then all the stakeholders contact lists, that we will be understanding it, and where these people are from, and how we categorize them. Okay, and then like with these stakeholders, how we are going to actually interact with, where they are useful, we will come up with a collaboration plan. Then how we are going to communicate it, that you will come up with that plan. And then BA activities plan. BA activities is something like like what we are going to do. Okay, like in BA planning, we have to create a BA and requirements plan. Then strategy analysis, may we have to analyze the current state, analyze the future state, assess risks, and in illustrations, what we do. And in requirements analysis and design definition, what we do, like we analyze the requirements documents, then the business models, okay, and then the data models, and then we have the process models, and okay, and then we verify and validate requirements. All this information, it comes under business analysis information. We call it as business analysis information. So you should have a clear-cut picture about business analysis information. Okay, now you should also be knowing risks, about risks, where risks are involved, in which categories risk can be, like where risk can happen, that is also clearly given here. Okay, about the risks. Okay, then the risk register you have to prepare. Then be a governance plan, how we are going to do our activities, that be a governance plan should be there. And then we will be having like this is the information management plan, how we are going to manage it. Okay, that plan is also given here. So here be a general be a information management and requirements management. Okay, that is given. And then it is be a performance evaluation plan, then solution performance evaluation plan, we have it. Then the issues which happens in the project, that we have to maintain it, and planning assumptions. Okay, so all this information, we call it as business analysis information. So all this we call it as business analysis information. That means for a business analyst, what is required for you to actually do business analysis work, all that information we categorize it to business analysis information. All this we categorize to business analysis information. Fine, you got me? You got me? Business analysis information, we have all these categories. So we will go through each and every one slowly. And next we have to understand what is an enterprise. Now, enterprise is different from organization. Generally, we all mistake enterprise and organizations are one and the same. Before I could speak about an enterprise, let me speak about an organization. Organization means here a group of people, they come together to make one management, and they make a board of they make one board, and they work towards achieving some common goals and objectives. So any organization you take, actually they do some work, service oriented or product oriented companies you'll take, they do some work and they get some profits, benefits out of it. That such entities we call them as organizations, and we have a clearly defined boundaries about it. Okay, and here an organization, how it does is that it goes with the continuous operations, and it is like so many initiatives can be a part of the organizations. So many initiatives can be part of the organizations, or so many projects that you can do in an organization. So organization is a clearly defined, we have a clearly defined boundary for an organization. For you take any organization, you have a clearly defined boundaries of it, and you know people who are managing it, you know your managers, and what they do in the market, how they give service in the market, all this to their customers or clients. Everything is clearly defined in an organization. Now let us try to understand what is an enterprise. Now enterprise means a system of one or more organizations and the solutions they use to pursue a shared set of common goals. Now possibly I can tell you, you take any company, we have HR vertical, we have accounts vertical, and we have like let me say like we have this project management vertical, all right? Like we have like a IT vertical, like we have this any company you take, any organization you take, we find these verticals, and they're common, mostly they're common in all the companies. Okay, so that those verticals which are common, they actually they work, that is a system. Okay, HR, you don't find HR in only one company, you find HRs in almost all the companies, and accounts department you'll find in almost all the companies. Then you find IT department in almost all the companies. Like those departments, that you can actually consider it to be an enterprise. That vertical, that system of this specialized working of a particular goals, it is not like a HR goal is to do something, and project management goal is to do something, and like let me take like finance, that would be doing something, or accounts would be doing that, their goal is something. Like these entities we can consider them to be enterprises. So mostly you can, if something works out in one enterprise, you can similarly make that work in other in another companies in the same enterprise, we can use it. So this is where we can come up with this enterprise. Okay, and after enterprise we have a plan. Now we all know what is a plan. It is a plan is something which describes set of events and dependencies, and we have expected sequences, schedule, results, outcomes, materials, and everything. Even the stakeholders are involved, all that comes under a plan. And we are going to propose a plan to do an activity or a work and to achieve some what we say, some deliverables, or we will be giving deliverables because of a plan. Okay, and the next one would be like an approach. Approach means it describes the overall method that will be followed while performing business analysis work on a given initiative, how and when the task will be performed and the deliverables will be produced. Now approach, I'll tell you, approach is something like if we want to achieve something, okay, we have to plan it, and that plan how to make it possible is through an approach. Okay, so approach is overall approach will consider all these considerations of an initiatives and all the background work, and this approach will definitely change the perspective of doing that particular work when the circumstances changes. Plan doesn't adhere to changes. Plan doesn't adhere to changes, whereas adhere to changes or change in environments, plan doesn't actually change itself. whereas approach can automatically change itself in the changing environments, and finally it can reach its goal or target. Okay. And coming to the risk is, we all know, it is an uncertainty that can happen on the value of a change or a solution or an enterprise. That is the risk which we can take. And risks, wherever it can happen in this particular document, we have seen about the risks where it can happen. Okay, so risks, if you can see it, okay. So risks, I'll share this document with you about the risks which can happen. This is the risk category, like where the risk can happen in planning and monitoring stage. Risk where it can happen, you can see here what risk can happen is like you can say little or no requirements planning is done. If requirements planning is not done, that is a risk here. And stakeholders not identified, that will also a risk there. And like requirements plan doesn't sync up with the project plan, that is also a risk here. So where it can go wrong, that is a risk. We have identified risk in all the business analysis activities, like concerning the scope, what can be the risk here we have defined. And it is like and next is the elicitation means here, okay, inadequate user involvement and the requirements are not complete, and we have the time pressure and not enough time to actually do a particular illustrations. That is, this is the risk which will be there. And in the documentation, like what can be risks in the documentation is like different interpretations, ambiguous terminologies, not enough detail, and includes the design elements and missing requirements. All this will be the risks that can happen in documentation. And here in analysis, what can be risks is like customers disagree on prioritization and level of difficulty implementing the requirement, right? And then the new technology software, okay, that will be the case. Analysis, while we do it, this can be risk because the new things we can't understand it. And as is model is not defined, so that we can't know, we don't know from where to start off. If as is not defined, then we don't know where to start off. That can be a risk. And if we have conflicting requirements, so how to take it forward, and the degree of requirement stability. And modeling, while doing analysis, we should model. If you don't model, then ambiguity will creep in. So that's the very reason modeling is a must when you are doing analysis on the requirements. And coming to this validation part, here it has like unstable requirements and untestable requirements. And then we come up with the requirements not signed off, and we don't review the requirements, and we don't verify them. So requirements are not linked or traced to the problem statement if you don't use RTMs, and it's not tracked to the source of these why these requirements are bring in. If it is not so traced out, then all this comes as risks in the validation part. Okay. And from the management perspective, if you consider it like scope creep, that we all know about a scope creep, how it happens. Initially they start off doing one project, but finally once all these requirements are dumped and they are analyzed, it becomes to a different project altogether. Okay. And expanding product scope, that is what we are saying. And the change process not created, that is how to handle the change, incoming changes. For that we need to define one process. And as usual, it is like expanding project scope, that is what the scope creep like. And requirements are not traced throughout the project, that is also there. And requirements were not baseline. Now you see, these are the risks that can happen and on business analysis front. So we are a part of doing all these activities. When we are doing these activities, this is a potential area where risk can happen. So we should be very clear about these risk parameters, like where it can happen, and we should take necessary precautions to avoid the risk. Okay. And for us to actually handle this risk, there is a risk register here. Okay, we have to prepare a risk register. This risk register may we have to keep documenting it. Wherever a risk can happen, we can just start writing this risk analysis here. We can write it. So this will be used when we are working in a project. If something goes wrong, we can note it down so that the other team members can easily understand, okay, this is the area where they need to be very careful on. Okay, this is how we are going to make it up on the risk factors. Okay. And once the risk is done, the next one is the requirement. Now requirement is something what the stakeholders gives us information where we can translate this information as a requirement. So we identify the need and translate the need as a requirement, and this is like what value we can deliver back to the client. So based on this need that we will be identifying it here, and generally this requirement we will be doing we will be documenting in a document. Mostly a requirements document we'll be writing it up. And then we have the design patterns. Now if you look into the design, like from these requirements or the need, how a solution can be actually be achieved, that we call it as the design. Okay. And here this is we need to understand like the solution starts with, or it takes the design as an input and they start manufacturing or they start developing the solution. So here design is a start part of developing a solution. So this is what, and as a BA you will be taking requirements as your inputs, and outputs will be the design patterns, and outputs will be the design patterns. This we should be very clear about it. Okay, fine, got it. And coming to this requirements classifications, when you go with the requirements classifications, basically we have these four types of requirements. One is business requirements, and the second one is stakeholder requirements, and the third one is solution requirements, and fourth one is transition requirements. Okay. And once again, solution requirements is divided into functional and non-functional requirements. When you look into the business requirements is a high level requirements. Mostly these would be like the statements of goals, objectives, and they may come up with a reason why change is being initiated. At that level it will be there. And this business requirements may be applicable to the whole of an enterprise or a business area or a specific initiative, or for the organization, like that it can be applied. That is a business requirement. At a very high level it is mentioned. Okay. And the stakeholder requirements, it's the needs of the stakeholders that must be met to achieve the business requirements. That means that these are detailed requirements of the business requirements. And here this stakeholder requirement serve as a bridge between the business requirements and the solution requirements. The next level is the solution requirements. Here through the stakeholder requirements, solution requirements are being designed. Okay. And coming to this solution requirements. Okay. Now, solution requirements is like the capabilities of our solution to meet the stakeholder requirements, and it is how our system should behave, in order to actually achieve the business requirements and stakeholder requirements. That would be the solution requirements. And we are here we give more inputs of how the system should be developed and implemented, so that these can achieve business requirements and stakeholder requirements, so that the solution can address business requirements and stakeholder requirements. For that we have the solution requirements. And in solution requirements we have functional and non-functional requirements. Functional requirements means it is the capabilities of a solution. It is in terms of the behavior and information that the solution will manage. That means how this functionality can be achieved. Mostly we achieve this this functional requirements through the screens, like the navigation of the screens through which the functionality is achieved. That we can term it as functional requirements. And non-functional requirements means it describes the conditions under which a solution must remain effective, or qualities that a solution must have. Possibly it's like the non-functional requirements can be in this way, like the integration of external peripherals with the system along with quality requirements. We can call it as non-functional requirements. So that means any external gadgets or devices or like machines are integrated to the application, how this is being addressed or handled, that is given through this non-functional requirements. And quality, and not only that, quality requirements means like turnaround time, availability, reliability, performance, supportability. All this comes under non-functional requirements only. So functional and non-functional together we call it as solution requirements. Okay. And coming to the transition requirements is it is the temporary capabilities of a solution which is useful to transit from the current state to the future state. That means it's like let me say to be very fair, we can actually include end user trainings, or the installation procedures or the deployments or the data conversions, all this comes under transition requirements. So if you just look into the structure of requirements, you can find the structure in this way. As a whole, we find this business requirements, then we have the stakeholder requirements, then we have the solution requirements. Solution requirements, we have two categories, functional and non-functional, and the transition requirements helps to achieve this solution be installed and the end users will start using it. It is a temporary requirements to enable the end users to start working with the given solution. So we have four categories of requirements: business requirements, stakeholder requirements, solution requirements, and transition requirements. Solution requirement is once again divided into functional and non-functional requirements. Solution requirements is once again divided into functional and non-functional requirements. Fine, got it. And coming to the stakeholders, we have this in IIBA BABOK, we have categorized them into 11 categories of stakeholders. Okay, the first one is a business analyst, and the second one is the customer. Next we have the domain SME. Domain SME means all these people who work, who knows about the what the solution they want, and what the problem they are facing. They know about that particular domain and the process. All these people come under domain SME, and the end users who are going to use this application when it is developed, all that category comes under end users. And implementation subject matter expert here, it's like project manager, and these implementation means people who are into technology, who will enable this particular development and give it back to the clients. So all this will be like a implementation subject matter experts. It comes under this category. Operational support, when the project is given back and the client started using it, so people who enable this particular applications and who troubleshoot it, and any problems are there, they're going to address it. So those categories comes under operational support. And project manager, like your project manager. Regulator, it is from a regulatory body, we call it as a regulator here. Like let me say we have RBI for Indian banks. Similarly we have a federation bank for the other countries, like that. So we will be looking into the governing bodies, regulators, we can consider them. And sponsor means who is initiating this particular project and how it is going on, the progress is tracked, and the business objectives are met or not. The sponsor would be looking into it. And a supplier can be like a third party consultants who helps us in getting some third party information or some tools or some techniques or the trainers. So those people would be like suppliers. And testers, who test this once this project has been developed, who will be continuously testing it. That category we call it as the testers. So going forward, you'll find only these 11 category stakeholder names in BABOK. So I want you to actually memorize these 11 category names. Okay, I want you to memorize this 11 category stakeholder names, like business analyst, customer, domain subject matter expert, end user, implementation subject matter expert, operational support. Then we have this project manager, then we have the regulator, then we have the sponsor, then we have the supplier and tester. So I want you to memorize all these 11 stakeholder names. Got it? And each stakeholder, what they're doing, what I've explained, the same thing is given here. And the final one, we need to understand about what we actually do as a business analyst. We take requirements as an input and we come up with designs as an output. Okay, this is what exactly we will be doing it. For us to get that clarity, okay, let me take an example so that you get clarity about it. Right, the requirement is come in this way. Let me say view 6 months sales data across multiple organizational units in a single view. Then the design would be a sketch of a dashboard. Okay, you got me? So if the requirement comes in this way, the design would be in this way. And you can take one more example, like reduce amount of time required to pick and pack a customer order. So here we will be dealing with the process model. Okay, then you can come up with record and access a medical patient's history. For that, what we have to do, if at all, if such a requirement is given, so the output we have to go up with a screen mockup showing specific data records. In that way, it will be there. And develop a business strategy, goals, objectives for a new requirement. Here we have to come up with a business capability model. So whatever inputs we take and we actually work on it as a requirement, that is the inputs what we take, that is considered to be a requirement, that is the input for a business analyst, and designs would be the output. Okay. So here you can see that provide information in English and French, that is given prototype with the text displayed in English and French. Like this is the design part. Like as a BA, you will be taking requirements as inputs and you will be coming out with the designs as an output. Fine, got it, clear on this? This is very, very important because what we do is this, we take this as input and this as an output, we will be generating it. And if you see here, what we actually do here is okay, it is the initially what we try to do is that we get the business requirements and then the stakeholder requirements will come into picture, and then the solution requirements and the transition requirements. It goes back in this way. So here actually nowadays the requirements are not stagnant or stationary or static kind of thing. Dynamically they'll start rotating. From a business requirement we come up with stakeholder requirements, and then we come up with solution requirements, and through transition requirements we implement it. And once they start working, once again business requirements come in, and then we go with the design pattern, and then we will come up with the stakeholder requirements and then the solution requirements and the transition requirements, and we implement it. Once we implement it, when the team start working with it, once again new requirements creep in. So this is how it continuously goes in. Fine, got it, clear on this? So here in this particular chapter we should be very clear about this 9 key terms, like business analysis information, enterprise, organization, plan, approach, risk, requirement, and design. And we should also know about the stakeholders categories. We have 11 categories. So frequently we'll be using this 11 categories, like business analyst, customer, domain SME, and like end users, implementation SME, operational support. Then we have the project manager, regulator, sponsors, supplier, and tester. So we should be very clear about this 9 key terms, 11 stakeholders, and requirements and designs. And we should be knowing the classification of the requirements. We have 4 categories of requirements, like business requirements, stakeholder requirements, solution requirements, and transition requirements. And the solution requirement is once again divided into like functional and non-functional requirements. Fine, got it, clear on this? So with this we complete this chapter. Now from the coming chapters we will be implementing whatever we have learned here. So what I recommend you to do is I ask you to go through the entire chapter 1 and chapter 2, and if possible you have to go through this let me say BABOK V3, which I've shared yesterday. BABOK V3 I've shared with you. Please go through that book. And also this is like important highlights is given in the presentation. Even I shared this, right? And I have given it, I've been sharing this PDF format and the recordings as well in the drive. Fine, got it, clear on this?